Are you ready to lose those love handles? Do you work hard to stay in shape and eat healthy, yet you can't get rid of stubborn fat? Now there's a clinically proven way to help you look slimmer without surgery or downtime. It's called Sculpture. Sculpture's innovative procedure destroys fat in just 25 minutes with visible results as quickly as 6 weeks. Sculpture sounds amazing, right? Check it out for yourself by clicking on the banner or go to goodbyefat.com.
Blog Talk Radio. March is Women's History Month. This month we are privileged to dialogue with Miss Calibe Thompson. Jamaican-born TV host, producer, and director, Calibe Thompson is head dread at Blondie Ras Productions, Incorporated, producers of Taste of the Island, the first Jamaican-produced series, and the first Caribbean cooking series to broadcast nationally via PBS. Her company also produces the Caribbean Diaspora Weekly, Miami Fitness TV, and other terrestrial web-based shows. As a columnist, she contributes weekly Caribbean-based opinions to South Florida Times newspaper. And then as an author, she is in the process of completing her first book, Things I Probably Shouldn't Say. Thompson's versatility as presenter spans TV and radio, from news to exclusive interviews to hosting live corporate events. Consistently in demand, today Thompson is the face of multiple programs aimed at ethnic groups in the U.S. and the Caribbean. Her mission is to showcase the best of Caribbean culture to a wider audience. As usual, my co-host, Chris Staley, he will be conducting the interview, so take it away, Chris.
Thanks, Denise, and welcome, Calibe. It's good to have you this evening.
Thank you for having me on. How are you?
Wonderful. We're doing just fine, thank you. I want to get the audience to get to know a little about your background before we get into your accomplishments. So tell us a little about your Jamaican roots and childhood.
Well, I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica. As they say, I was born under the clock. Spent a middle-class childhood, basically, in Jamaica. I went to Immaculate High School, which is an all-girls Catholic school. But grew up somehow to have dreadlocks and be fairly rebellious, and went to university in Jamaica to become an architect, and then ran off to go sing with Beanie Man after spending many years growing up around Sly and Robbie and the music industry, and so it's been a whirlwind of a life, but it's an interesting story and a truly Jamaican one.
Boy, so you moved from this sphere of nerdiness in architecture to this career in the media. What was the trigger to get you to move to be such a great media person?
I don't know if it was a trigger. I think it was more of an evolution. I got into architecture because I wanted to be an artist. And I knew my father was not going to send me to any art school. He's one of these very practical people, and artists not going to make any money and whatever. So I ended up going to architecture school. I am an artist at heart. So excuse me. So I wanted to sing. I had been around Sly and Robbie just after school and in spare time and what have you. And excuse me. And so when the opportunity came for me to do a song with Beanie Man that they were working on, of course I jumped at it. As I said, I toured with him for a while, toured with Kimani Marley and Kevin Little for a while. And when I realized that I was not going where I wanted to go in the camera as well, producing and editing and putting shows together. And so it was kind of an evolution from just being a person in entertainment in general to now having this love of storytelling both in front of and behind the camera.
So in high school, you knew you had some talent beyond this architectural thing and the artistic thing. Did you sing in a choir or that kind of thing in high school or churches or?
Not in choir. I was in a girl group called Emerge, and that's how I was actually introduced to Sly and Robbie. I sang with 4 young ladies, and the group was called Emerge, and we'd sing at various clubs around Kingston and what have you. That group broke up, but I continued to be around the studio scene, and they took a shining to me because I enjoy the mix-up. I enjoy what we call mix-up in Jamaica. So I'd be around the artists, and they would kind of chat and labrish about, they gossip a lot. Artists, even the men in Jamaica, they gossip a lot. And I wouldn't take part in it too much, but I was always there and just, in the thick of everything and laughing about stuff and whatever. And so Sly and Robbie had the opportunity to produce a track on the Tropical Storm album, and they ended up putting me on that album. And that's how I got like an intro into touring through the music industry as well.
Wow. But your talents just don't lie there. You're also an author, and you write a weekly column. Tell us a little about how that came about and the like.
Well, from doing the television show, the television show that I'm actually on camera for, which is called the Caribbean Diaspora Weekly, which actually currently shows in D.C., so it'll be in your market. It also shows throughout the Caribbean and the New York area and Boston and quite a few different places on One Caribbean. So those of you who have RCN cable can find it between the Travel Channel and the Food Network. It comes on every Monday night up there at 8 o'clock. But on that show, I do a commentary. It's called Diaspora Perspective, and on each episode, I just choose a topic and talk about it. It might be the role of women in the Caribbean community. It might be Caribbean exceptionalism. It might be, our style of parenting. Is it good or is it bad? Those types of topics that may end up becoming fairly controversial. But from doing that television show and doing that perspective, that's the part that we would always get the most feedback from. People would, get in touch with me and be like, oh my goodness, I don't believe you said that. I think the same thing, but you're brave to say it out loud or what have you. And so that doing that segment of the television show, one of our partners became a newspaper, one of the major black newspaper down here in South Florida called the South Florida Times. They decided to run a column based on that perspective every week. So I would shorten my perspective, put it in the paper, and I started doing that October of last year. The show ended its run on mainstream TV here in December, but the paper liked the column enough that I still am doing it now. And so the book is going to be a collection of those type of thoughts or those types of things that many people in the Caribbean community will probably think about the traditional ways that we do things and what have you, but they've just, maybe been afraid to articulate it or, whatever is the case. But it's stuff from our perspective, especially as people who have now left Jamaica, so we don't have the same traditional values and the same phobias and the same thought processes. And how do we now think that we're, now that we're outside of the homeland? Type of thing. Right.
I see here's a person who went to Immaculate with that kind of rigid perspective. You blossom out of that, and now you're helping people to shape their values as they go forward in life. Give us an example. Given you're a young woman, how does gender play in this for you in your work?
I try not to let it play anywhere, and I know that being a black person and being a black woman especially is supposed to be some kind of disadvantage. I don't take those kind of things on. In our community, in the Caribbean community, it's often the situation that women are supposed to be the submissives and they're supposed to cook and clean and be the housewife and what have you. Neither do I cook nor do I clean very well. I'm not very good at being submissive. I'm not very good at holding my tongue, obviously. And so that has been very helpful. It wasn't helpful while I was at Immaculate, but being at Immaculate and having my type of personality, I learned to become very politically correct. So I know when to hold my tongue, and I know when to speak up about certain things, and I'm comfortable in that space. So even now, being the first, Jamaican producer to have a series put on PBS nationally, I mean, we're going to be in at least 135 markets across the country. That's almost 50% penetration. Almost 50% of U.S. households will be able to see the production that I was behind. That says something, and it to me it doesn't say, oh, Calibe, you're so super special, but it does say you clearly weren't afraid to try this, and it worked, so keep going. And if there's a message that I can ever share with anybody, I'm certainly not there yet, I'm on the way, but if there's a message that I can ever share with anybody, especially young women for this Women's History Month, is be not afraid. Like, people will always tell you what you can't do. But I interviewed a woman by the name of Jennifer Carroll. She's a Trinidadian, and she's the first female to be the lieutenant governor of the state of Florida, black female, as a Trinidadian woman. She said to me, I always tell my children, don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. And I think that was a very powerful statement coming from another black woman. Mm-hmm.
Amen. Being on PBS throughout the United States, that's a milestone event. Tell us a little about how you were able to secure such a pretty lofty position.
Well, the head of the Jamaica Tourist Board, who was our main underwriter for the program, he asked me that same question, how did you pull that off? And I said to him, we were ready. I had bent over backwards the year before in 2013, and I won't get into the details of that story, but I basically took all of my resources, had a friend by the name of Chef Irie who was very passionate about food and passionate about his cooking, and quite a few people had said to me, food shows do very well on TV. People are always intrigued by food. And I was sitting with him talking one day. He said to me that one of his goals in life is to have his own TV show. And I said, well, I'd like to produce a TV show, so let's work on it together. And so it ended up happening that I, pulled all my resources that I had, including friends and videographers and whatever, and we put the show together, had 7 episodes in the can, and then it just sat there. We couldn't find a distributor. We couldn't find a place to put it on TV. I didn't want to give it away to the Caribbean. I didn't want to shortchange the product. And so it just sat there for many, many months. And sometime during the course of 2014, Chef said to me, I know some people over at one of these PBS stations. Let me give you their information, and, you can see if they might like the pilot. Well, when he gave me the information, It was the CEO of the local PBS station. I sent her the pilot. I didn't hear anything for a few weeks. I emailed again to do you have to do your follow-up, people. You can't just send things out, and because you don't hear back that there's no chance or no hope. It was maybe 3-4 weeks later, I followed up with her, and she got back to me the following day. She said, listen, we want to have a meeting with you guys. Come in and talk to us. And I had Lukey Chong in my corner. He was the producer of Oliver at Large and Lime Tree Lane and Island Styley and all these iconic Caribbean shows. So he's my associate producer on the project. I had him in my corner. I had the owner of Caribcast, who is another, media, not a giant, but, one of the strong media companies here in South Florida. And we all went into this meeting, and we presented a united front, and we had a strong pilot. We made sure the quality of what we were doing was good. We were ready to do whatever it was that was required for us to get this deal. And we had interest from them to deal with the local market. And within a month, they called us back and they said, listen, we sent it to American Public Television, who, by the way, also distributes shows like Downton Abbey and America's Test Kitchen, which are, these are really popular television shows. And they fell in love with the show. They would like to take it for national distribution. But we couldn't say anything until, they do a conference 4 times a year, and they have people vote on it and what have you. And they came back and they said after the votes came in, it was 135 different PBS stations that wanted to carry the show, and we were just over the moon about it. The Jamaica Tourist Board was excited to now have something on this type of platform. It was just exciting for all of us, all around. So the show is actually called Taste the Islands, not Taste of the Islands, but Taste the Islands with Chef Irie. The website for it is tastetheislandstv.com. We're really excited. As I said, it's probably going to be in D.C. is one of the areas that wants to carry it. And so it will probably be in your market as well. Not sure when it will start there. Nationally, it'll be available from April 4th. But, of course, all the stations may not start running it at the same time. But, yeah.
Well, we're very proud of you, and we'll be trumpeting that kind of success. You're also involved in, not just in this PBS series, but you also do, and the radio, and the column, and the book, but you do some other media events. You want to elaborate on that for us?
Well, those are the 3 primary areas. I do the 2 television shows. Again, this one where I'm the cooking one on PBS, I'm not on camera for, but Blondie Ras Productions is the production company behind that. The other one, called the Caribbean Diaspora Weekly, that one broadcasts throughout the Caribbean and the United States and Canada, and I think it's in the UK right now as well. That one I'm on camera, and I'm the producer for that one also. When we bring that show back, we're going to reformat. Both of these are first season offerings, so we're going to reformat them a little bit. When the Caribbean Diaspora Weekly comes back, we're going to rebrand it. It'll be called Island Origins, and we'll change up the format a little bit to just make it more appealing, not just to the Caribbean market, because, again, the objective is let us put our best face forward so that the rest of the world is appreciating us. We do a lot of Caribbean content, and it's for Caribbean listeners or Caribbean viewers or Caribbean readers, but are we putting packages together such that the rest of the world also wants to look at us? It's like being a Bahama Breeze as opposed to a Golden Crust. Both of them are great restaurants, but one of them is clearly catering more to a mainstream market. Golden Crust is really targeted to the ethnic market, and they'll put themselves in the middle of a Jamaican community in order to reach the people who already know them. The other one wants to take the Caribbean culture and say, hey, mass market, come and try this out. So this is my objective now, to be that channel for product that is reaching outside of just the Caribbean market. So I kind of segued there a little bit. It's the television side of it. With the column, I'm currently in the South Florida SFL Times newspaper, but also now taking that to a podcast that will be available through Jamaicans.com. That's another one of my partners. They're the largest Jamaican diaspora website online. They've been very supportive. They were partners in producing the first season of the Caribbean Diaspora Weekly. And now I did a news podcast for them for several months, and now I'm doing the opinion podcast. The Diaspora Perspective is now also a podcast with them. So that's how I'm involved in the radio side of it. The TV will continue to, try and pump out great Caribbean-centric programming. And in terms of the book, which is called Things I Probably Shouldn't Say, I'm still working on it, but people can go to my website. People can go to my website, which is calibe.net, CALIBE.net, and I'll have a free kind of few chapters of the book available within a month or two. So if you go to the website, drop your name into the email list, you will get it as soon as it becomes available.
I look forward to that, and I certainly will. You're at a very important position as far as media and how the Caribbean and Jamaica are represented in the world. And how would you say we're faring in that arena? How do you think we've been perceived?
I think too often the stories that are shown are the Dudus Cokes that are being arrested and Buju Banton going to jail, and the gangster life, and all the movies have a lot of gangsters and weed and guns and drugs and what have you. On the flip side of that, you have the Marleys and the music and Chronics that was just on the Jimmy Fallon show a few months ago, and excuse me, Sean Paul and Shaggy and the music side of it. But I don't know that people see the reality of what the Caribbean contributes to, excuse me, the world and life in general. And so, Anthony Bourdain went and did a special in Jamaica the other day. He explored it through food, but was he really seeing Jamaica? I don't know. And I don't know how we get to that point. For me, I'm really just trying to showcase bits and pieces of our culture, the good and the bad, and the controversial and the funny, and we're such a dynamic set of people, us from the Caribbean and Jamaica specifically. And, it's a lot to show and a lot to share. I think the world gets bits and pieces of it, but there's a lot more to be done to share our culture with everyone.
Well, your milestone is going to be very, very important because of the PBS audience is such a very segmented. If you look at the demographics of the PBS audience, it's a very compelling demography to be a part of, and I certainly wish you much success as you help shape the opinions of the Caribbean through the show. I think you'll do really well, and your perspective, you'll do that.
Thank you. We are trying to showcase the best of the Caribbean in everything that we do, so I appreciate the support. Please go to blondieras.com. That's the website, and you'll see what other shows are coming up or what shows are already available, where you can watch them, etc. So as we know which station is going to be broadcasting when, we will let people know via that, via Facebook, etc., etc.
All right. So I want you to take out your crystal ball and look out 5 years and give us what you see yourself doing, given you have such a skyrocketing start.
In 5 years, I see myself with a thriving production company with multiple Caribbean-inspired television brands, perhaps having backed a few movies at that point, with a few product lines at that point, with a nice set of industry or becoming an industry leader, meaning that the products and the offerings that we'll have will be able to drive other industries, be it products, be it food, be it clothing, be it what have you, that the visibility that we give to the Caribbean community will also be able to now drive other industries as well. And that's our objective, again. Best of the Caribbean, not just on television, but building money and building wealth in our community as well through the efforts that we'll start off.
Let me be the first to dub you the next Oprah. And I think you really have a great vision of doing that.
I'll take it. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that's a prophecy, and I'm no false prophet.
I like it. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, so your book, you expect it to be out later this year, and we look forward to that, and folks can go and get samples of it and start to follow you, and we'll promote that. As we close, do you have any parting wisdom for audience as to how, the importance of media and how we can really use that to shape people's perspective on us and what that can do?
My parting words in terms of media would be, remember that the things that we put out are accessible now to a global audience. So represent us. If somebody's clicking through the radio or flipping through your magazine or what have you, represent us in a way that it's not only us that can benefit from what it is that you're putting out or what you're saying or what you're showing. Keep our culture in mind, but make sure that you're reaching into the culture and through and beyond the culture, so that we're all glorifying everything that is ours. To women, I would say to you, because this is Women's History Month, make sure that you're not shortchanging yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't be afraid of hearing no. No just means try a different angle or try somebody else or try a different way to get there. Have pride in yourself. Believe that you can do whatever it is that you've set your mind to. Don't allow doubt to creep in. Just be a strong woman and be somebody who you want your children and your friends to be proud of.
What wisdom. We thank you so much.
And so to learn more about Chris Daly, visit cuttingedgeapp.com to learn more about Jamaican Diaspora, which has a magazine called Jamaican Diaspora Magazine, and it has Calibe's face on the cover in the most recent, in the chocolate edition. It is visit JamaicanDiaspora.com. To learn more about Calibe Thompson, visit Calibe.net. Thank you, Calibe. Bye now.
Thank you so much. All right, bye.
Fashion Emergency Hotline.
Help! Labor Day weekend is my last chance for a summer selfie. My last look got hundreds of likes. How do I top it?
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's got the season's most liked styles, like dresses in the prettiest prints, jeans in new washes, and colorful tees to pair with them.
I like that.
Yeah, all jeans, all dresses, and all tees are 50% off through Monday.
50% off all those styles? I really like that. Thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank Old Navy. Valid 9/2 to 9/5. Active licensed and men's package tees excluded.
Are you ready to lose those love handles? Do you work hard to stay in shape and eat healthy, yet you can't get rid of stubborn fat? Now there's a clinically proven way to help you look slimmer without surgery or downtime. It's called Sculpture. Sculpture's innovative procedure destroys fat in just 25 minutes with visible results as quickly as 6 weeks. Sculpture sounds amazing, right? Check it out for yourself by clicking on the banner or go to goodbyefat.com.